Okay, let's get started on cutting these bodies out. Now, it's always worth starting with the centre line on the blank, and just, so you're going in the right direction on the grain sort of thing. So set up a centre line, and then your template should be marked with a centre line as well. That sometimes is not particularly easy to do. Obviously the start of the centre line at the front will be in the middle of the neck joint sort of thing, so that will be running down the middle of the neck. You can pick up the centre of the pickups as one thing. Roughly, if you know where the bridge is, obviously you can get a centre line on there by hook or by crook, but it takes a bit of measuring, so set it up on the centre line. This bit of wood is actually quite a lot wider than a Les Paul, so I'm setting it off as near to one edge as I can to save myself a nice chunk of mahogany here, rather than slapping it straight in the middle. So we're in the centre now, so we can draw around it. And again, just to reiterate, obviously the more accurate your templates are, and they should be 100% correct, then you're gonna end up with a more accurate body. We're all set up there. Right, I've actually, in my bandsaw over here, I've put a new blade in it. Let me carry you over there. So I've put a new blade in it that's only 6mm wide, so it's nice and narrow, and it'll go around bends and stuff. Now, when I actually cut a body out, I see some people, they seem to whiz around on the bandsaw and be able to cut amazing accuracy. I'm just not kind of like that. If I try and do it quickly, I'll bugger something up. So I take my time cutting, and I cut absolutely as close to the line as I can, because it saves on routing. So I'll take me time doing it. The other thing as well is I use this, I know, you can tell I'm a really messy worker, but I use this as a extended workbench sometimes, and it gets bits of glue on it and whatnot, so I've given this a thorough going over with one of my old chisels to smooth it off. And one of the reasons for that is that this actual bit of wood is 45.25mm thick, and the actual 53 Les Paul is 45.1mm thick, so I've got 0.15mm sanding room, which is absolutely ideal. So I don't want any bits of glue on this that are going to dent this and put unnecessary marks in it. So that's why I'm being a little bit careful. But anyway, let me find my spectacles, wherever they are. I'll switch you off and get back. Okay, here we go then. Let's start. Have a bit of a think about how you want to do it. Don't just start hacking at it sort of thing. I'd like to keep this scrap edge as long as I can, just to have a nice bit of mahogany offcut sort of thing. So I'm going to go around this way first, and then whiz off from the lower bout over to there, and then I can start cutting it. Okay, well we've you can see we've cut a little bit out of it there, and I've got my chunky bit of mahogany left, which will come in useful for something. So I'll just get on now and cut the rest of it out, but you can see how close I'm cutting to the line, and that'll leave my router very little work to do. So yeah, we'll get on now and I'll get back to you when I've done it. Oh, hi there, welcome back. Well, I've cut out this body here out of my A-list stock kind of thing, and if we look on here, can you see that? Yeah, you can. Right, the weight of that body is basically 4 pounds 8 ounces, near as damn it. So 4 pounds 8 ounces, right? Now I've cut this one out of some stock. I've got this is again Honduran mahogany, but just to illustrate, £6 11 ounces. So that piece of wood is nearly exactly the same size, obviously, 2 pounds heavier. And basically, you know, this is what you pay for in a quality guitar. I mean, modern Les Pauls are, you know, somewhere in the region of £10 plus. You know, but if you look around, and you know, obviously I chose that wood back in the day, I always go for light stuff, but you can just see what a difference you can make. I mean, that guitar now is going to end up, I'd say the lighter one that's £4 is going to probably end up to be about a £7 guitar, and the other one is going to be about £9, which is still light for a Les Paul, really. It's not too bad, but yeah, just just to show you what you're dealing with. Okie doke. Well, hi there. I mean, here we are. I mean, I've got the body blank now. I've got the template screwed to the body blank here, so you can see there's just a little overhang on there that I want to route off now. So I can use this router cutter, which has got a bearing at the bottom and then the cutter at the top. So basically, doing it like this, the bearing will run to the template, and that's exactly the same diameter as the cutter. So it will do a, you know, it'll route it to the profile of the template. I'll just do a little bit and show you. So there you can see now it's routing to the you know, to the size of the template there, taking off about 1/16 of an inch, and what I can do then is adjust the depth of cut to do the rest of the, you know, the rest of the height of the body. You know, you won't get a cutter that's like 2 inches long or something like that. So we can just whiz around like that now. So there we go, we've got getting that cut to size. So what I can do now is ooh, sawdusty, is take the template off and then just route the rest of the body. This cutter is really expensive, but the essential thing is the blades are fluted, you know, they're on a spiral, and you can certainly get a bearing guided router cutter with square edge teeth. Oh, I can't find one at the moment, but when you come to routing round corners and edges, you're likely to get a lot of tear out, so whatever you do, take a light cut. Anyway, I'll get back to you when we do the next bit of routing. So you can now see on here I've used the previous routed edge that was done with the template, took the template off, and I've just whizzed round again so the bearing runs on the bit you've already cut. So I've just got this bit to do on the top now, so I can just wind up the router. No, I can't quite do it. It won't do it, but I tell you the good thing with this router is it's got a bearing you can put on the top. So I'll put that in. I mean, my router just hasn't got enough travel to do it, but so if I can't do it one way, I'll do it the other way. I'll drop it down below the bottom bearing, so I can now turn it over, and the top bearing will do the necessary. So here we go, we've got the body routed out now to shape. Obviously needs sanding and stuff, but you know, when you do take a few goes at routing one edge, you obviously, like, you know, you get a little bit of demarcation on it, but sanding will do that. So I can get on and do the other body now. That'll be good. Okay, good morning and welcome back to day 2 of this, well, not day 2, but day 2 video wise of these 1953-54 Les Paul build. Yesterday what we did, we just got as far as like bandsawing out the bodies. I should have said I was lucky enough to, I didn't realise, but these were the exact thickness. They'd obviously been done at the wood place where I bought them from. These are 45.25 millimeters, and the 53 Les Paul is 45.1, so perfect, just enough for sanding and stuff. So I didn't have to thickness them, which is quite good for me because I haven't got a thicknesser wide enough. I mean, a thicknesser is like a letterbox planer, you just shove it through, and it's like a letterbox sort of thing that planes the wood down. I mean, I would have routed it down if they hadn't been the right thickness, but there we go. So then I showed you like finishing the edges of the body with a bearing guided router on my router table. Next business now is what we've got to do is there's a couple of holes that go right through the mahogany body blank, and that's the internal profile of the control cavity and the switch hole that goes all the way through. There has been some examples, I think, of definitely burst Les Pauls. It's very, very rare, but where this shaped hole is not actually cut all the way through the mahogany. It's cut to within a gnat's cock of the width, about a millimetre left of the mahogany, and then when you route the underside of the maple cap to an angle for the pots basically to fit through nicely, then like a little bit of the, about half of the mahogany, if you like, veneer thickness is left. But to be honest, I've seen one picture of that, I think, in all of it, and certainly this 1953 I had that that was cut all the way through to the body, to the maple cap, so that's what I'll be doing. So here we go. One thing you have to, the way I'll be doing this is, I don't know if you can see, I've marked it on here, and I'll get the worst of that out with like a Frosner bit and drill through and all that, and then round it. But I'll get that done first on these two bodies. Well, hi there. We can start hogging out the worst of this control cavity now, and I'm going to start that doing it with a Frosner bit, just basically like drill through it. At this stage, you know, it's much more dangerous on a symmetrical guitar, but just make sure you don't do anything daft like cut this out up here, you know, plonk the template on, go, oh, that's line up, draw, drill through, done. It's very easily done, and it's just something you should really take care of. Like when I was doing the flying V's, it was, you know, a bit heart stopping sometimes, and you suddenly, you know, you put a template on or something and you realise you're cutting out some sort of cavity, or you know, especially like the just the little rebate for the control covers and things like that, or whatever, and you kind of think, oh shit, I've just done that on the front rather than the back or whatever. So just take a step back and think, right, you know, this is the top of the guitar, it's right-handed, you know, sits on me like that, whatever, and like, okay, I mean, this is generally okay as long as you get it on the cutout side. It doesn't matter whether you drill it from the back or the front, but if you were doing the cover, you know, just make sure that you're doing it in on the right face of the guitar. But yeah, I mean, this is fairly simple, but we'll just start off a little bit and I think you get the picture. There's no real science to Frosner bits, they're just big drills, but you can overlap the holes like this, but as long as the centre of the Frosner bit is in solid wood sort of thing, you can't like hang over the centre of the Frosner bit and like take any accurate cuts. Be a bit like careful, you know, that you've got it on a flat surface, so you're drilling through square sort of thing. But yeah, so I'll get that finished off, then get back to you when we're going to route. Well, here we go. We set up to route through the control cavity in the right internal shape. Now I'm going to do this with bearing guided router, but this is more to demonstrate the sort of hassle you get by doing it this way rather than my sort of homemade pin router. But you know, I'm doing quite a deep cut sort of thing, so it's half a dozen of 1/6 of the other, but it will demonstrate what you have to do with router cutters and things. So first of all, you have to start off with quite a stubby router cutter, because you know, if you start off with a long one like this, that I'll have to change to, you know, when you get down, you know, the first cut you'd have to take, I don't know if you can see on there, the first cut I'd have to take would be about 1/2 inch, because that that's what you know, when the bearing contacts the template, you'd end up with having to take 1/2 inch, which would be ridiculous. It would be bouncing all over the place. So for a start, you need like two length router cutters. So start with the small one, and I'll whiz round and show you. Right, so you can see now I've cut that depth about 1/2 inch there with that shallower router cutter. Now I've got to change router cutters. So now we're back with the longer router bit and see. Okay. Right, so that's as deep as I can go with that router cutter, but I've still got about 3/4 inch to go. Now what I can do is take the template off, because now I can use the already cut part as the template for the bearing to, so let's do that. Now let's get rid of all the. Now I'm down to about you can see there probably about 3/8 inch to like cut off now. Now you're in the territory of like well, you know, do I risk going down further with that cutter that's sticking out quite a long way from the base? It should be okay, but when you come to the bottom, you'll have to put it on a piece of wood so you don't damage your desk or your router cutter. Or you've got an option, which I'll use, with one of these cutters with the bearing on the bottom, so you can go through from the top and use that there to cut that out. So let's change the cutter again. Right, so now we can route through the top. So finally we get the hole we want. But just, you know, just to demonstrate, we used like 3 cutters then, you know, short one, long one, and one with a bearing on the other end. And you can see, you know, you could tell by the noise of the routers, these cutters have seen better days. It is a luxury having new cutters, but you know, when you consider like sort of £20, at least £20, there's £60 worth of cutters there that don't last a lifetime. And there is an easier way of doing it with just plain off the shelf cutters with no bearings and everything, and I'll show that. I actually prefer doing this cut with that method of router cutter, but you know, as the build goes on, I'll demonstrate that there is a better way of, or a cheaper way of doing it, and we'll address that as and when. Cheers then. Okay, so I've got this cut now, and I think the next thing to match is I'll put like a hole directly through for the switch. Now with this, again, it's marked on the template, and this is the, you know, the hole that goes, diameter of the hole that goes all the way through the body, and then that's the diameter hole of the you know, the cover plate sort of thing on the back, so we can drill the smaller hole all the way through. If you haven't got a bit the right size, you can certainly route it, but fortunately I've got a bit the right size, so I can just go directly through on that, as long as this is sharp enough. So we'll try and do that now. Get me glasses. Now the next bit is doing the wire channel. Excuse my saw here, just part of the kitchen refurbishment. Get that out of the way. The next bit is doing this wire channel. Now, like I say, we had the 3 templates now, you know, to build the body with. One's got the, you know, the control cover cavity, the small switch in it, switch hole, pickup outlines, and you can lay them over one another, and then you can see the you know, the pickup lower routes there, you know, the initial route in the top, and the lower ones sit in, and then this one as well for the wire channel and the neck joint. Now the thing is, I think it's always worth making full-size templates. You see a lot of guitar templates that are available where you know, they just have a center line on them, and then say the pickup holes or something, you line that up. But I always feel like safer if you just, you know, you're almost just stacking the templates on one another, and you can fit them exactly to the body. There's no, you know, it's very easy. You just plonk them on, job done, that's it. Now the wire channel, I could measure, you know, on the original drawings, you know, I've got all that measured out sort of thing. Oh, excuse me, it doesn't take me long to get in a mess, does it? But you can see on here from my drawing, I knew where the channel came out in the control cavity, and I knew exactly where it came out in the pickup switch cavity sort of thing, and I could also measure the depth. I mean, basically, it was actually slightly deeper than a Les Paul, a 59 Les Paul cavity. I measured this at 12.6 millimeters wide. Well, that's obviously like half an inch. And then 13.6 millimeters deep. I mean and I measured that at like both ends sort of thing, and I was surprised. I thought it would be half inch by half inch, but you know, it was obviously 13.6. I mean, these things were built, you know, were basically built not with CNC machines. You know, they were built by guys manhanded them around the factory. So, you know, I know that a lot of burst Les Pauls are quite different from each other, and you know, it's just a feature of them because there's a lot of hand building in them. But anyway, I'm going to now mark out and cut this control cavity. Now the thing is that I'm going to do this on my pin router and show you how that works, because basically it's half inch. Now the smallest bearing guided cutter you can get without going quite speciality is actually a half inch cutter. You can get smaller ones, but you know, they're kind of expensive and they don't last very long. But you know, you're trying to cut a half inch slot with this in there, you know, it's absolutely tight in there, and you're trying to run it through, and the bearing, because you know, you're pushing the cutter one way, the bearing, you know, wants to rotate both ways, so it'll wear your template out quite seriously sort of thing, because I mean, it's trying to turn at like 8,000 RPM and you're stopping it turning. So I've done it before, but it's not ideal. So I'm going to do it on my pin router with a 6mm cutter, so I can go down one side and go down the other. So first thing to do with a pin router, especially as I've made one myself, is to mark where you want to cut. Now, right, okay, I'm lining this up absolutely perfectly on here. I can feel around because it's, like I say, it's a complete template, and you know, I mean, you're talking half millimeters here, that not even that, but I can now mark now. We have to put this template on the back, so I'll put this on the back and then I'll get back to you, and we'll go from there. In order to put this template on the back, I'm actually doing the masking tape and super glue thing, which is fairly well known, but for those who don't know, obviously, I mean, I could screw it on the back, but then, you know, you're going to see the back sort of thing, it's finished. So I've stuck masking tape to it, lined up with the masking tape on here, and I'll stick it down. I would prefer, I must admit, some screws, but there's nowhere on the back I can hide the screws like bridge posts or anything like that. So just a small line of super glue down each bit of tape. And then like spray on here some accelerator. And then try and put it on in exactly the right place. And then right, so this is the top of the body, and that's where the channel is going to go. So just have a check. Yep, it lines up there, and it lines up perfectly in there. Right, now let me get my router a bit, my pin router a bit set up, and I'll show you how we're going to do this. Okay, so this is my sort of, I wouldn't say custom made, my very crude pin router. Now basically it's an overhead router. Now what you do is, if I take you under here, you can see I've got the cutter there coming out of the router, and then directly underneath it, that's exactly on top of that pin, which is the same diameter as the router. So what you do, let me just get something. If you can imagine, you've got your template here. Now if you have the template under there, and there's a screw in here irritatingly, but the pin now can follow that template. Okay, so the cutter on top will only cut exactly where the pin is. So if I get that out of the way, put this up here, so I've got the body now with that slot template on it. If I put that underneath here, it'll have to go up a bit. If I put that underneath here, then the only place that router cutter can go is where the pin is, and I can basically now cut the slot out, and we'll go from there. Okay. Right, okay, hopefully I've explained that well enough. So we've got our router cutter now on the pin, so I can only move it along that template now where the pin is. So what I've also done is I've put the router cutter down to the top of the body, and on the side here it's got a depth stop, so I've put that at 13.6 mil. So shit or bust, let's have a go at it, have a final look that it's right. Okay, this is the top of the guitar. You want the slot in the top, going from the switch to control cavity. You're not doing it diagonally the other way, or doing it on the back of the guitar, doing anything stupid, so thank Christ for that. Let's just take a little cut now and see what happens. Right, I think you can see that is pretty darn good. You can just see the pencil line on there, and it's taken the pencil line off this side, so at the most it's like about probably 1/4 millimeter different. So now we can just keep going almost automatically now until the depth stop is reached. So let's do that. Now we down on the depth stop, so let me just check the depth. Make sure we zero. Right, we're 11.37 mil. We're not enough yet, so I can just up the depth stop a little bit. Right, well, how cool was that? Now we can lock the depth stop exactly where it is. We know that's the perfect depth. Raise the cutter up. So when we do the next body now, we don't have to adjust everything other than put the template on it. How cool is that, eh? So that's a pin router. That's how a pin router works. You can see it's come out exactly in the middle of the square hump on there, then up to the switch where it should be. So now we've just got to change the template to the other body, and we've done that. The thing is with this router thing is it's a lot of fuss to set up, because you've got to get that cutter exactly over that pin, otherwise you're just going to cut everything like wonky. So it does take a bit of setting up, and as you can imagine, a professional proper one would be fantastic, but they're huge machines generally, and there doesn't seem to be a DIY thing available like this, not that I've seen. So yeah, I'm just making do with a couple of bits of 4x2 and some bolting together, but it does take a bit of jiggery pokery to set it up properly. But let's get on with the other body now.